Good evening, everybody. We are live for our next Oxlep training session tonight. I am joined with Vasco. If you haven't seen Vasco before, we did some workshops, physical workshops in Oxford earlier this year, pre-COVID, where we actually did them in person.
Yeah.
And Vasco did some of the workshops and I did some of the workshops. So tonight's workshop is all about defining your marketing message. So last week we went on about your USP and how your USP may have changed. And this week we're taking that one step further and starting to talk about how you can define your marketing messages and some of the key things that you may want to think about in putting your marketing message together. We're 4 or 5 minutes early tonight, so we'll just let everybody join. Yeah, we'll start bang on 7 o'clock. But I thought I'd come on early so that people get the notification that we are live and then they can come and watch. But we're going to cover the marketing message. And Vasco, I know a lot of businesses get frustrated with how do they get what they want to say across, right?
They do. And I think all the problems in life have to do with communication. How do you communicate? Either be, in your marriage or any other type of relationship, in your business relationship with your clients, with your staff. Everything's got to do with comms.
Yeah, and the odd thing about it as well is that as we get into tonight, it's not necessarily what you say as much as what people understand.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can get ourselves so tied up in knots, worrying about what we're trying to say, we don't really convey the meanings that we want across.
And sometimes we say too much.
Yes. Yes. I have a video that I'm looking to put together at the moment, which is effectively about that very issue, about how do you get the information over that is just there to help people take the next step.
Yeah.
And if you're on LinkedIn, you'll probably notice a lot of people send a connection request and then this long-winded pitch, which is effectively a sales pitch to people they've never really met and don't really know, that they're desperate to try and sell to.
I got one like a minute ago.
And it doesn't work. So 2 more minutes till we start. So people, I'll jump in as we go. We're just warming up, getting ready and being present here for when everybody arrives. But we'll start in 2 or so minutes. Do you want to, if you're watching, please let us know where you're from, where you're tuning in from, so we can let you know, say hello. And obviously as we go, we will put more, you can put your questions in the chat and we'll answer your questions.
And I'll keep an eye on the chat as we go along.
Yeah. So it's a duo tonight. This is the last session until September. And then we'll be running more sessions in September. And maybe towards the end of the year, we might be able to do some sessions in person in Oxfordshire somewhere. But do let us know if you're watching, as we're going to get started in 90 seconds or so. So let us know if you're watching, where you're watching from.
By the way, you were there.
I was
on holiday.
I decided to go on holiday for just like an extended long weekend, and we went. We were kind of on the border of Oxfordshire. It was really nice, really quiet and peaceful. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and then came back to do a webinar for people in Oxford or in Oxfordshire.
In the old days, pre-COVID, you'd stay there, and do it live.
Yeah. So we're going to start tonight's session, and it's all about defining your marketing message. And critical to anything you do is if you don't communicate it in the right way, people will not grasp, latch onto, and see the need for your product, your service, or solution. So the marketing message, the communication, the ways you're going to do it are critical to understanding and conveying the value you have to your customers. Without this, you will really struggle to convert business and to generate new business, And we'll maybe towards the end in the Q&A session tonight, we'll actually go through and share some things that you should consider in terms of using marketing messaging in different ways, in different spaces, digital, email, and all of those things. So let's get started. We're bang on 7 o'clock. If you're here, welcome. If you're not here yet and watching on the replay, it's never as good replayed as live. And you get to ask questions, and we're going to do a short training session and then a lot of Q&A. So if you've got questions about your business, you go, how can I communicate this? How can I use this in this way? What should be the key things for my marketing message? You can ask that in the Q&A in the kind of second half of tonight's session. Awesome. So let's kick start. I've got a short training session and then we're going to go into Q&A. So if you're running your own business and you think, I'd love to get some outside advice on how I can communicate it better, please say in the chat, let us know who you are in the chat, and we will actually give you some tips and pointers specific to your business. And if you're just joining us, please do let us know. Give us a hi in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from so we can say hello and give you a quick mention as we go through tonight's session. Awesome. Awesome. Let's crack on. So, first things first. Oh, let me get my pointer working. So tonight what we're going to go through is some key components of your marketing message, which should be influencing everything you're doing in terms of communicating with customers. Your content, your brochures, your emails, everything that you're doing should be coming from the key marketing messages that you need to convey to your customers. And we're going to go through some of that tonight too. So we're going to look at creating content and how to make an impact with words and messages, how to write copy that can do the selling for you, how to separate yourself from the crowd. You know, I'm sure you're in a competitive environment, a very busy, crowded media environment. How do you separate yourself and show you as being relevant and different to your target audience so that you don't just blend in with competition? Hi, Gisela. Please let us know where you are calling from in the chat. Great to have you on here tonight. And then let's understand the pain points around your product so that we can create a compelling proposition for customers. And that's what we're going to go through tonight. So really, really importantly, and you know, I don't want to teach you to suck eggs, but people buy solutions to problems. They don't buy things just for the sake of it. They buy things because they have a problem and they think that buying whatever the service or product will help them solve that problem. No pain, no problem, no sale. It's just very, very simple.
And probably, you know, talking about, instead of problems, let's talk about pain.
Pain.
Because pain, that's what moves people. And probably most of you are here tonight because you're having some pain.
Yeah. Challenges. COVID has really kind of shook a lot of businesses, and they think, how do I reposition? And last week we were looking at that in a bit more detail, but this week we're looking at how do I adjust my message? How do I create marketing messages that really resonate with customers? And that's the key thing. So fundamental to all of this is you have to understand and review what is it that you sell and why do people want or need that? And that comes down to a pain point. Now, a lot of people go, pain points? I'm in the hospitality sector. How do we do pain points? I'm in the manufacturing sector. How do we do pain points? Every business will have a product or a service that meets a need. And for an example, let's say you manufacture widgets. If you want your widgets to be sold over and above the competitors' widgets, you have to find a reason that's more powerful, more stronger, more emotive to encourage people to buy your widgets versus theirs. And it's very, very simple. It's a bit of research, it's a bit of investigation, but when you start to pull that out, you find that people buy solutions to problems to solve their pain. And when you start to master that bit, that's when you really start to get your head round the value you can offer.
Always ask the famous question, which is, what pain does this address?
Yes.
Does it address the right type of pain?
And last week we shared a worksheet that you can, if you go through the YouTube channel, you'll find last week's session on defining your USP. And in there we had a worksheet which we're happy to share with you that helps you identify in more detail some of the challenges and the pain points and the frustrations that your potential customers might have. So that when you start to put your marketing message together, your marketing message talks and is relevant to the pain that motivates people to buy. Yeah. Does that make sense? Any questions, please do put them in the comments, because we'd love to hear from you so that we can help you and answer any questions. If I go over to something too quickly, it would be great to get some feedback from you in the chat, and then I can cover something in more detail. So please do comment in the chat. Okay, so how do you work out the pain? Now, this matrix is something that we put together to help you kind of think about some of the key areas, and there's 4 key areas where pain comes to us. Now, I'll start with the bottom one, the now problem or the now pain. That is effectively something that's so topical, so current. Anybody get where we're talking here? That it becomes I've got to do this now. It's an urgent need.
Even the Martians know what it is now.
Yeah. So things like emergency plumbers, emergency electricians, breakdown recovery, and perhaps a customer whose manufacturers let them down and they need an alternative supply. These are the now pains. Usually, if you can solve a now pain, you have a premium price over and above what is essentially something that could be solved anytime. So an emergency breakdown has a premium price. An emergency plumber, a 24 call out plumber, has a premium price. So you think about what are the pains that you solve, because you could just be any old plumber, but a plumber who specializes in out of hours, inconvenient times will be able to charge a premium price and will market themselves as an out of hours plumber if that's the pain that they're going to solve. Just as an example, an emergency alarm repair company or things like that. Think about the pains that you solve. So the now pain is a very immediate pain. Now, as we work up, we've got the aspirational problem. Now, people go, how can you have an aspirational problem? Well, we've all felt frustrated that we haven't progressed as fast as we think we should have. We've all been frustrated that we haven't earned as much money as we think we deserve. We all have been frustrated that people don't recognize our achievements. So an aspirational problem isn't necessarily something negative. It's the frustration of not reaching something positive. So it can be, and I use this one a lot, the Lamborghini problem. Why do people buy Lamborghinis? Because the vast majority of Lamborghinis, and I've done some research on this, the vast majority of Lamborghinis never reach their top speed and never run at their top speed. They put on an average of 5,000 miles a year and cost somewhere between £200,000 and £500,000. Why would anybody in Great Britain want to buy a Lamborghini? Well, it turns out they don't buy it for them. They buy it for everybody else. They want to make a statement to the world, and they buy the Lamborghini to show people that they have arrived. Now, there are some enthusiasts who buy them just because they love Lamborghinis, but it's an awful lot of money to spend if you just want to make a statement. So Career Inspiration has put, how would I approach HR directors or HR managers of medium to large organizations to promote outplacement services or redundancy support? Well, that is a money problem and a time problem, Careers Inspiration. So I will talk in that in a second. Let me just cover the money and time, and then we'll come to your specific example. So the time problem is either people have a lack of time or they have too much time. Yeah. So all of these problems have a negative connotation and a positive connotation. So a time problem could be, I need to do this and I don't have time, or I want more time too. So again, time is a big factor. And then the money problem is obviously, I want to make more money. I want to save money. So all of the problems that business solve, all of commerce rests in one of these four categories. So career inspiration, as you're starting to look at, we can help you sadly lay off people. Why would a business, two reasons, two things. Why would a business be looking to lay off people? Well, COVID's been terrible, horrendous. Lots of people have been sick and it's a difficult situation. But you provide a service to help businesses get through it. Businesses are feeling the pain of this situation, and you providing a service to help businesses get through that difficult times, difficult situation, but you're helping businesses get through it to the other side. So I would start to look at, first of all, there's the time and the money problem, and then also there's the ongoing issue of how do they do what they need to do to get their business through COVID, reduce their headcount. How do they get that through in an efficient, safe, and compliant way?
And there's another thing about outplacement is that it solves the moral problem that owners have in having to let go of staff.
Because no business wants to do that. So I think you start to look at, there's the obvious point of money, as in they need to cut back to get through. They might not have the resource and the time, but there's also that immediacy of we've got to do something quickly, but we want to do something quickly and do it properly. You know, we all are aware of everybody's employees have got rights and things like that. So I would start to map these out, and what you're looking for in this career inspiration, sorry, I don't know your name, but what you're looking for is the most powerful pain point that you can use in your messaging. And then you'll start to get your secondary. And what I would say, I feel strange saying career inspiration. What I would suggest is if you look at last week's session, we did have a PDF which you could get access to, which had all of these key questions that you should ask about your product and about your customer to help you pinpoint the most pressing issues and the pain points that those customers would be feeling, so that you can understand them a little better. And so then you can start to highlight where are the pain points that we can add the most value, or where's the pain that we can provide the strongest pain relief.
In fact, career inspiration could tell us what does he think, or what does she think is the biggest pain clients might be having at the moment.
Do that career, and we'll come back to that in a minute. So the pain is just a way of mapping out and going, where is the pain relief? Where is the strongest pain relief that we can give? So, you know, where will our paracetamol, where will our ibuprofen, if your business's service is an ibuprofen, or your business service is a paracetamol or an antibiotic, where is the biggest pain that we can relieve? And that's the key question. Curti. Perfect. So that's a really important point to look through that, the pain matrix. The slides will be available. If you've registered for this session, we will share the slides with you. So don't worry about that. We'll send them after tonight's session. So a couple of quick things about content. And if you've been reaching out to potential customers on LinkedIn or by email, or you're trying to basically engage other businesses to talk about your services, there's some key things you need to understand about the way people make a decision to buy. So number one, people only buy from people they believe. So people don't buy from things they don't believe in. They don't buy from things they don't trust. But there are 4 stages to somebody making a purchase of a product or of a service or of a solution. There are 4 stages. The first stage is they realize they have a problem. And they may have had this problem for many, many years. They may have had this pain for many, many years, and they've thought that this is okay. I can live with this problem. And they thought, oh, actually, it's fine. I can live with this problem. No, they didn't know any other way. They didn't know any different. So they live with the problem. But then they start to realize, yes, I've got that problem, but they start to see that other people might be having a different outcome. Other people might be seeing different results. Other people might not be living with that pain. And when they see that that's the case, when they start to realize they can have a life without that pain or that problem, they start to get curious. And then we move to the third stage, where is the decision. Now, this isn't a decision to purchase. This is a decision that they want to pursue the outcome. Because very often, I'm sure you've had this in your own business, people will say, they will ask for a quote, they will tell you all about what they need, they'll tell you what they want to achieve, but they still don't make a decision. So people can know they've got a problem, they can know they're in pain, they can know that there's a better solution, they can know that you can provide it for them, but they still don't make any decision to pursue it. They're just tire kicking, as we would call it. And when they make that decision that they're going to do something about it, in other words, I'm ready to leave the pain behind, the problem behind, and move towards the outcome, that's the decision they've just made. I'm going to now try and do something about this. And then they have to decide on the solution, which is your solution, it's my solution, it's whoever's solution. That could be a product, that could be a service. Doesn't matter what it is, but it's their solution to their pain. So our summit said, how would you adapt this as a charity trying to raise awareness, build supporters, donors? Well, our summit, it's exactly the same. A business and a charity, the fundamentals, not necessarily the motivations, but the fundamentals are the same. In that, people need to see the problem and how they can make a difference. Yeah, when somebody's donating and supporting a charity, what they're doing is saying, I see the need and I see that I can make a difference. So that's appealing to an aspirational problem in some senses. If you've ever seen Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it basically talks about the different levels of need that humans have, with the top of that hierarchy being self-actualization, where they can achieve their potential. And charitable giving can fall on two very distinct levels. There's lots of grey areas, but two levels. The first level is their emotions are stirred by imagery and emotive stories and see the need. They appeal to the heart. That's the first one. So we see adverts of children that, and charities that need support in Africa feeding children. They're very emotive, very touching the heart and the emotions to encourage us and to help us to see the need to do this and why we with so much, even during COVID, us with so much, should support those with little. The second level of this, and again, this is the same in a lot of businesses, the fundamentals of this are the same. Because people, whether they're working, whether in a charity, whether a consumer, whether they're a business owner, people are the same. The second level is the self-actualization. And the self-actualization is really where people go, I want to make my life count. I want to make a difference. I want my life to mean something, legacy and things like that, people wanting to make a difference. And they're the two fundamental levels of charitable giving. The people who are touched by a story and touched on their emotions, and the people who want to make a difference. And sometimes those combine, and sometimes they're very different. So there's the people who are touched by their heart and emotions, and the people who are wanting to make a difference. So principles are the same. So we start with a problem. They find that they can have a different outcome. They don't have to live with their pain. So they then make a decision to do something about it. Not a decision to buy something, but a decision to do something, to start looking, to start doing something. And then they find the solution, or they find a solution and buy. So Problem, outcome, decision, solution. So, but if people believe, they will buy. In other words, if people believe that they can have a different outcome, they make that decision, and they believe your solution can achieve the outcome, they will buy. They will buy. RM, how do I generate new leads for B2B products? RM, I would let's deal with that one in the Q&A, because it's a bit kind of off topic from tonight's message, but I will answer.
And it's got a long answer.
It's got a long answer. Okay, so if people don't believe you, they will never buy. So RM, make a mental note here, is that if you want to generate new leads, you have to get people to believe that you can do something for them with their product. You can ease a pain. You can provide a remedy to something that's been frustrating them or something that's been niggling them in the background. But remember, people don't buy unless they've seen the problem, they know there's an outcome, they make a decision, and they commit to a solution. So how do you get people to believe? You can't get people to believe just because you say it. You can't get people to believe just because you send them a LinkedIn message and tell them how wonderful you are. You can't do that. It does not work. We'd love to think that people are robots and just analyze things factually. That's not what happens. People do this with their emotions. Their emotions, we capture their attention and we draw them into what we're saying. And then they start to build a relationship with us. And that's the first point of belief. Without belief, nobody buys. And the first stage is rapport. In other words, you're a nice person. They get on well with you. You're not trying to be pushy and sell stuff like everybody else. You build trust. That, first of all, people want to know, and your customers want to know, that you understand them and what they want to achieve in their business. So you need to replicate that you understand them. You need to build demand. In other words, nobody buys from a desperate salesperson. Nobody buys when they think that they're the only person who's buying. Yeah, you have to create a demand for that. And you do that by focusing in on the pain points. And we'll talk about that in a minute. You have to build credibility. People want to know that you're helping other people like them. So credibility is really important. Having some testimonials, having some backstory, not just looking like you've set up yesterday. These are really key things in your marketing messaging that you've got to get across. Nobody buys from people they don't believe in, and they don't believe you can make a difference to them.
And this is why the saying, people buy from people.
Yes.
Comes true.
Yeah.
So if you are not, if people don't believe in what you do, what you say, and what is the solution that you're going to give to their pain, you're going to get nowhere.
Yeah. And your marketing messaging is not just what you write, it's the way you present it, it's the imagery you choose, it's the words, but it's also the people. Because for many businesses, their first interaction with your business will not be through a leaflet or a letter or something like that. It will be from a person. So the people that you employ, or you as the business owner, are the ambassador for the business. And people build a relationship with your business based on the people they interact with. That's generally how this works. So you've got to build credibility. You've got to build likability, genuine people really want to do. And then expert status. And that's where you demonstrate that you know what you're doing. You've got results for people. You're not throwing it in people's faces, but you are showing people we do what we say we can do. We do what it says on the tin. And that's really, really important. Nobody buys unless they believe. So Careers just said that the moral, money and time problem to ensure that they're looking after their departing staff, so their brand advocate. That's exactly it. So how do they do this in a way that is clean for both sides? And this is the pain point, the cleanness.
By the way, it's not career inspiration, it's Curti.
Curti, yeah. It's the cleanness of the way it's done, but also the reputation of the business. Because everybody understands there's difficult choices to be made, but the way you do it can make all the difference. So I think these are some of the key messages that you have. Doing it well, doing it right, making sure that the people feel valued even after they've left the business. You need to map those out and take a look at last week's session, because there's a worksheet in there that you can download that will really help you with this. The more you write it down, the more you crystallize it, the easier it will be to communicate what you're trying to communicate. And I will give you an example of this in a moment. In fact, no, I'll do it now. When you're writing a marketing message, if you imagine that there's two ends of the spectrum, yeah, you've got this end of the spectrum here, which is I'm going to give you as much information as I possibly can. And then there's the other end, which is I'm not going to give you enough and leave you guessing. And generally, a lot of businesses make the mistake of going to one of the extremes. Now, I see this on LinkedIn quite a bit because I'm an avid LinkedIn user. And what I find on LinkedIn is I get a lot of people who will send me a connection request because they're promoting their business. And I will generally accept people who connect with me on LinkedIn. If they connect with me, I'll give everybody a shot because I know how difficult it can be to promote a business. And if they come in at the extreme end of, I'm going to give you so much information, they actually switch you off. So in their efforts to give you a lot of marketing information, what they inadvertently do is give you too much information that you decide, this is too much, I'm not interested. Then you have the opposite end of the spectrum, the people who give you too little. And those people, I get a message from and it says, hi, how are you? And I know that when it gets like that, I'm like, why are you asking me how are you? It's too short, it's keeping me guessing and it feels a little strange. In a business sense, sometimes what we do is we actually don't give enough information for people to make a choice, or we give them so much information to make a choice.
Or they didn't even read it, which is
too much that they make a choice. It's too much. I'm not reading it. And really what your marketing messaging should be doing is just moving people along the process. So what we try and do is create marketing, content, messages, whatever, and we try to get people to go from, I don't even know who you are, to actually, I'm going to buy from you in one attempt. So literally from zero to hero in one attempt. And it doesn't work. And so they play around, tweaking it, but they never address the point that they're trying to do too much in one stage. Most people these days will not buy unless they've checked out the company a few times, and they probably won't even remember your company unless they've been exposed to your business in some way, shape or form in about 15 occasions. 15 times. So if you think about it like that, 15 times for them to see you, know about you, and get familiar with who you are, that's the sheer volume of times that you need to be interacting in various different ways, not all the same way and not all the same day, as somebody tries to do, so that people get to know who you are. So it's really, really important that you build that frequency into your messaging. But start with the pain points, because without that, you will not know what to say. You'll be just guessing and making it up. And our cheat sheet from last week actually asks you to list 4 or 5 and ask questions. Some of the questions are quite hard, actually, because we've been through the cheat sheet. And it forces you to ask questions and answer questions in so many different ways. And sometimes you think, haven't I just answered?
I'm going to answer this.
Yeah.
What am I going to say?
But when you go through that process, and you need a dictionary with you, when you go through that process, you start to understand your customer better, which means you can start to tailor the messaging better.
And you'll find sometimes when you fill this in that you're contradicting yourself without knowing.
Yeah.
And when you start filling it out, say, hey, this is something wrong here. And then you find out that your message is not getting through because you, on the things you do in terms of marketing, you are contradicting what you say.
And just to be aware, people latch on to words. So choosing your words and your message carefully, we can latch on to one thing in a sentence, and we can fixate on one thing as human beings. That's what we do. It's really important to do that work to make sure that the customer fixates on the right one thing, the one thing you want them to focus on, not the thing that you inadvertently end up getting them to focus on. So things like, for an example, if your customer is not motivated by saving money, but is actually motivated by growing their overall revenue in their business, that saving money message could actually kind of compromise your whole message. So it's really important you think about the key messages, the key pain points that your customer has, so you don't inadvertently just slot in one little thing and they focus on that and dismiss everything else. So it's really, really important. And we've seen that happen with some businesses.
Interesting. There's a great man in this country, and probably there's some buff over here that, you know, he's going to shoot me in the foot when I say this. But I love this person, Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
And he used to make these long speeches, but on these big speeches, he had a specific phrase that sort of framed everything in those two lines. And up to today, people still remember what he meant just by two lines of his speeches.
Yeah.
And if you go through all of his quotes, which have turned into quotes, they all come from long speeches that people have never forgotten about it because they are crystallized there.
And I actually know, but now can't think about, there's two technical terms for the way he uses his phrases.
Yeah. Boris Johnson, in fact, has got a video on YouTube explaining exactly that.
So some of the most memorable speeches, some of the most memorable messages repeat the pattern of three very often. They, on the beaches, on all that kind of stuff, it repeats the same message. And sometimes what they do is they flip the messages round. So
he was a master doing that.
So you use the same phrase and mirror it back. And I know the names of these terms. They're actually ancient Greek definitions of how to do this. But repetition in threes and inverting sentences and moving sentences around, but fundamentally the same sentences, are very memorable ways to make a message. And you will see this in literature, you'll see it in marketing, you will see it in journalism. It is a common way to communicate. Remember that if the other thing that's important in your marketing messages, and I don't know whether you've heard about this before, in Microsoft Word, there is a test you can do on your copy that's a readability score. And basically the principle of writing persuasive marketing messages is to make it very simple and very easy to understand quickly, because you may only have a few seconds, a few moments to actually get people to pay attention. So the simpler the message, and actually one of the recommendations I would give you is write your marketing messages, because marketing messages should generally be quite simple and straightforward. Technical content and technical messages should obviously be more detailed, but marketing messages should be able to be understood by somebody between the ages of 10 and 15. That's the age range that you should be looking to write your messaging to.
By the way, what you're saying about, there's this good one. In fact, I got it, yeah. We shape our dwellings, and afterwards our dwellings shape us.
Yeah.
So there you go.
That's an example.
It's just full.
Yeah. So they're very common ways to communicate, and yeah. So this is really, really important now.
I like that one.
You need to stop writing content, marketing messages, blogs, brochures for shoppers, and start to write for buyers. Now, people go, what's the difference between a shopper and a buyer? So a shopper is somebody who is analyzing options to make a purchase. A buyer is somebody who's realized they can have a new opportunity. So let me give you an example. I'm Mr. Business Owner, and I realize my current business has a problem. And the problem is it's a lack of widgets. But I've noticed that my competitors and other businesses actually don't have this lack of widgets. So I can decide, do you know what? I don't want to live with the lack of widgets anymore. I want an ample supply of widgets in my business. And I'm just making this example up. So I've now made that decision to change things. And now what I'm going to look out for is a new widget supplier. So I'll go to Google, I'll go to all these different companies, I'll ring round to make inquiries of businesses to find a widget manufacturer. That is a shopper. Somebody who's realised they've had a problem, realised they've got an outcome, they want an outcome, and ready to make a decision to move forward with it. They want to change things, and so they're looking for a solution. So they've decided on the way they want to solve the problem, i.e. they want to get more widgets. So they're now looking for a widget supplier. That's a shopper.
And there's a phrase for that, shopping around.
Yeah, they are shopping around. So they're the people who will go onto Google, they'll go and look for companies, and that's where you get a lot of businesses going, we need to be higher in our Google rankings, we need to write more things that will get us in SEO, we need to get listed in Yell.com, we need to be this, that, and the other. They're looking for shoppers. Now, shoppers are comparing you with other people. Yeah, shoppers compare with other people. Buyers are different. So buyers are the people who you go out to the market and you show them that they have a problem, they can have an outcome, they should make a decision, and you can provide a solution. So in those scenarios, there's very little consideration. For the most part, those people generally buy from the first person they talk to. And I saw a statistic yesterday whilst on holiday in Oxford and came home today. 84% of buyers buy from the first person they spoke to. 84%. So what that means for us is that buyers don't go down that consideration process. The majority of buyers buy from the person who showed them a different way. A small percentage then go and shop around. Yeah, but the majority of people buy from the first person they communicate with. So a shopper will generally buy from the first person they communicate with, and a buyer will buy from the first person they communicate with. You have more of a chance as a business of converting a buyer than you have of a shopper, because you are one of a number versus one. So think about that a bit differently. You may not have thought about it that way, but are you catering in your messaging, in your marketing for shoppers or for buyers? Because if you're catering for shoppers, you start to write about features, how it works, and all the details like that. For buyers, you're helping them understand the problem better and showing them how you can help them have a better outcome, which is a different message altogether. So for some of you, you may have to have two marketing messages. One for shoppers, people who are just looking for SEO and need an SEO supplier, and for people who just want to get more people to visit their website. Very different goals.
Well, it's just given something interesting to think about. I'm a shopper. My wife is a buyer. And she's a very good buyer.
Yeah. And I'm the kind of person who will look and study what's going on and try and find out how an answer.
So you're a shopper?
I'm a shopper. But generally speaking, I will always go with the first option.
But interesting that taking it into that perspective, as parents, for example, most of us are shoppers. Our children, they're all buyers.
Yeah. And that shows you the sophistication of the customer as well.
Yeah.
If the customer is buying services because they're attuned to that service, they're already mature in that service, they will be a shopper.
Oh, yeah.
And if they're new to the market, which lots of people are, and I'll give you an example, they will be a buyer.
Oh, yeah.
So I worked with a marketing company that wanted to sell TV commercials. And they didn't have the credibility of perhaps a big TV production company. So they thought, well, how can we do well? Every time we go up against a company that's been around for 15 years and all this kind of stuff, we lose because our credibility isn't as good as theirs. Yeah. So we're analysed and we're found wanting compared to these experts who've been around for a gazillion years. So they go, how can we do that? Well, there's two ways. The first way is to jazz it all up, look cooler and more hip and all that kind of stuff. The other way is to never get in a situation where you go up against somebody that could be perceived as better than you.
Yeah.
And we all know there's people better than us, there's people better than me, there's people better than Vasco, there's people better than you. So what you do is you go for the buyers, because the buyers aren't looking, and you can educate them into that space. So we helped define a strategy where this market video production company that was doing TV commercials went to first-time video production TV commercial companies. So in other words, they went to TV commercial virgins and brought them into the TV world. And they, in that first year of doing that, became the biggest producer of TV commercials in the region, even though they never went up against the big boys, but they produced more commercials. Because they didn't target the people who were already looking for commercials. They weren't already doing it. They went into people who weren't doing it and developed that market for themselves. And even to this day, I have some of the people who they worked with contacting me on a regular basis saying, hey, can you help us get another TV agency like that out?
Probably doesn't exist anymore.
Think about the difference between a shopper and a buyer. One's looking and evaluating you against competitors. The other one's just looking to solve a problem. Or maybe you're helping them find and realize they have a problem. So think about it like that.
Samut, you got a good question. We'll answer it during Q&A because there's a long answer to that as well.
So talk about the pain if you're going after buyers, which generally speaking, by the way, is where the higher margin business is. And talk about the pain. Bring them into the market. Help them see that your product, service, or solution can take away pain. Take away the frustration, the challenges, the setbacks, the annoyances, and get them to where they want to be. That's what's really important in your marketing message, to go after buyers, which are more higher margin clients and customers. So when you have a headache, you want pain relief. So think about it in your marketing message. If I'm going to say to you, do you have this pain? That I'm not going to say, I can give you a new website. If you want more customers, I'm going to tell you, I can get you more customers. So the pain relief solves the pain. It doesn't provide another solution. People don't buy paracetamol because it looks good. They buy it because it takes away the pain. So that's what's really important. If you have a headache, you want pain relief.
No, you don't want an earcut, for example. And that's what some companies do is you got an earache, they offer you a new hat, they offer you a earcut, an ear massage, and that's not what you want. You want to get rid of that pain.
So your marketing message should not be, do you have a pain? Let me switch now and tell you about my product. It's, do you have a pain? How does it feel? Does this frustrate you? Do you have these problems? Do you know that you could have this outcome, not our service? Because people don't connect their pain with your product. They connect your outcome, the outcome they want, with your product or service. So if I want to make more money in my business, I might engage another company to work with me to get me more money in my business. But I'm not engaging that company because of how good they are. I'm engaging them because I'm convinced and I believe that they can help me get my outcome. They can help me get my business to grow. And that's the important thing. People buy solutions to problems, not solutions for the sake of it. So when you're busy, busy, you want more time. Curtie, are there any signals? Are there any signals that can help you differentiate a buyer from a shopper? Yes, Curtie. The buyers are not looking. The buyers are not looking for your services. The shoppers are looking for your services. So when you think about what you're doing, So for an example, if I'm looking at companies that might want to contract because of COVID and how I can support them in getting through this, I wouldn't necessarily be looking at the people who are already looking at contracting, because they've probably now into an evaluation process. What I'm looking for are the people who see this on the horizon, that I can tell them about how we can make that problem easier for them. So, Rosin, flattery. I love. Everybody loves a bit of flattery. So thank you, Rosin. So when you're busy, you want more time. Yeah. When you're busy, you don't want a PA. You just want more time. So you hire a PA to give you more time. That's how it works. When you're busy, you want more time. So if I was approached by a company that said, "Are you really busy and want to free up your time?" Would it help you if you could get rid of all of your low-level tasks and just focus on the things that really matter? I'm in. I'm absolutely in. Let us do it for you with our VA or PA service. Oh, okay. Now I see what you're doing. You can give me my time back and I can give you all the stuff I don't want to do. Awesome. That's how these marketing messaging work. Pain, outcome leads to a solution. But it's not pain, solution. It's pain, outcome to a solution. When you have no sales, you want sales. Yeah. So if I'm Mr. Business Owner going, I'm not selling anything, and somebody comes and says, do you want a website? Unless I've connected the dots, I'm a shopper. Oh, website means more sales. I'm not interested in a website. I'm interested in more sales. That's what I'm interested in. So keep your marketing messages really simple. Talk about the pain and the outcomes and why a decision's important and the solutions. Very, very simple stuff. So some quick rules for content that will help you. Some quick rules. When you're writing your marketing messages, write for one person. Talk to the one person. So if you're targeting me, write to me. Or you, as we would say, you. If I'm talking to you down my camera here, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to one person, an ideal client profile, you, down the camera. So some quick rules for writing messages like this. Use the word we less and use the word you more. So less we, more you. Write for a 10-year-old. Make it simple. Make it hard to misunderstand. Simple, short sentences, no waffle. The more adjectives, the describing words you use, the more you look like you're BSing people. Keep it short, simple, and straightforward. And remember, your marketing isn't there to seal the deal. Marketing messaging is not there to seal the deal. It's to convince people to take the next step. So if you're posting on social media, your job is to get the person to make an inquiry, to show some interest. If you're writing a marketing message for your website, it's for them to fill in the form. Don't try and do 0 to sale in one piece of thing. Develop the stages.
And you don't want to do the sale on that piece of content.
No.
Some people, for example, they write a post on LinkedIn or even on Facebook, and they try and make the sale there. They got 10 paragraphs. Everything looks very busy. It sells nothing. It just gets people bored. You want to convince people to come and talk to you. Say, hang on, it's talking to me. It's talking to my pain. I need to know more. And that's when the next step
And that's
comes
the
in.
most important thing. Do you want a customer to evaluate your offer to them without you being involved in it? Now, if you're e-commerce, you absolutely do. You probably don't want people to ring you up and ask questions about your product. You probably don't want email inquiries about it. You probably don't want phone calls or conference calls about your product. So in those scenarios, you want to provide a compelling reason, start to finish, to buy it. But if you're not in e-commerce, hands down, you will want to have a conversation with the person who's considering or looking at your product, service, or solution. So you want to use your marketing content to keep people interested, which is always pain and outcome, and encourage them to take the next step, which is involve you in their decision-making process. Have a conversation, drop in an email, come to an event, go on a webinar. Whatever that message is, your marketing message should be focused around selling the next step, not trying to go from start to finish, zero to hero. So I'm going to remind you of our P method of writing messages like this. Very, very simple. The P method is something that's been around for a very long time, and then we'll do some Q&A. Very, very straightforward message, but it will really help you understand how you can write content and marketing content, whether it be a leaflet, whether it be a brochure, whether it be a sales letter, whether it be an email, whether it be a website. This works all the time. So, ignore there's a typo here. So, pain, headline. Yeah, use the pain as the headline. It's really important. How people with this problem can get this. 5 ways Maverick can help you grow your business. If you want more inquiries, this is the way to do it. Tell the pain. Use the pain in the main topic or headline. And remember, the headline is the major factor in success. In an email, in a post, in an article, in a blog, on a leaflet, anywhere you go, the headline, the biggest piece of text, is what will determine success.
It must be memorable.
It must be memorable, and it must talk to the one person with that problem. So pain. Then as we get into the body copy, whether that be a blog, whether it be a post, whether it be a leaflet, a brochure, a website, landing page, whatever it is, more pain. More pain. And the reason this is you have to get people emotionally engaged with reading more. Yes, they see the hook, but then they try to push through and skip through. They want them to be emotionally engaged in that process. Whether they are B2B or B2C, they have to be emotionally engaged.
So it means rub the salt in.
Put the salt in the wound, as we would say. Stir the pot. And then we come to the picture. What could the future be? This is your outcome. What's the outcome you can deliver? So I've given a headline. I've now put a paragraph about the pain again, the frustrations some people face, manufacturing companies face with a shortage of widgets. And then I talk about the picture. What could it be like? How could it be different? And again, this is not necessarily about your solution. It's about the solution that they could have, the pain relief. Imagine if your factory could operate at 2 times efficiency because you now have more widgets.
It's basically the perfect world.
The perfect achievable world. Then some proof stories. So these are not case studies, big, long, waffly case studies, but are the relevant stories or examples of people in their boat that have had the picture that you're offering to customers. Then some points. Are there some key points? Do you have a methodology that helps you? What are the key areas that you want to either give value or explain to people about the way you work and why it's different? So points, tips, or stages in your process that really help people understand. And then the pitch. This is really, 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 really simple. You're just selling the next step. Make an inquiry. Fill in our form and we'll help you find out how you can have 2 times the amount of widgets in your factory.
Basically a call to action.
A call to action, but it's only a call to action to the next step. Now, for some of you, you may go, well, how do we compete against companies where they have a pre-established supply chain? COVID has really disrupted supply chains and all of those things. How can you interject yourself into an established relationship? Well, here's the great thing. You can use the pain of going, are you struggling to keep up with demand? I'm not looking to get you to change suppliers, but could you deal with do you need some more capacity in your supply chain? Okay, your next step, your sales process could be, we'll be your backup, we'll be your second supplier. Don't necessarily think that you have to go for the whole hog. Get to be the second supplier, build up the rapport, and eat away at that business. You don't have to be...
And you know, when companies taste what you as a company taste like,
yeah,
they have a taste of you.
What's their experience?
And they'll go, okay, you're the second supplier now, but hang on, I like what I see. I like what I've been getting from you guys. Hey, you could become our first supplier.
Yeah. And that's really important. Sometimes you just have to get your foot in the door with something small to make this happen. And sometimes that key thing is, we call it a gateway product or service. And perhaps some of you, as a marketing tool, you may want to create what we call a gateway product or service. And this gateway product or service is not necessarily something that's going to make you rich, but it's something that helps you get into difficult to get into places. So a small training session, a little audit, or something like that you can give away free or low cost, that allows people to taste and get a flavor of what it's like to work with you. Because again, the marketing message is not just the words, it's not just the visuals, it's the experience too. And how people experience interacting with your company can make the difference between people going, actually, I don't mind working with them. Maybe I'll give them a bit more of the business. And we've worked with a client recently that they were the second supplier for a number of years. And we chipped away with them to the point where they got a little bit more business, a little bit more business, a little bit more business. And what started as a 60 grand backup supplier became a 1.5 million pound contract, because they prepared to see their gateway service as the backup to become eat away to become the main supplier. Yeah. So marketing messages are more than just words and visuals, they're experiences. And the more companies, your target companies can experience you, the better.
And if there's a major takeaway from all of this tonight is pain.
You have to understand the pain.
Remember
of your
that
customer.
word, pain.
So we got a few questions tonight. It's a bit quiet tonight. There's 73 people played back so far, but
Kirsty has got a question. Just are there any signals which can help you?
The signals are they asking about features and benefits, or are they asking about problems and outcomes? I want to get this. Can you help me? That's the difference. If they're talking about a pain and an outcome, they're a buyer. If they're talking about features and benefits, they're a shopper, because they're evaluating you rather than discovering their own pain or problem.
R&M asks, how do I generate new leads for B2B products?
Okay, so LinkedIn is the space to be on. And what I would be doing, I mean, we've got a whole program on this. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, we actually did this session. Yeah. We have a session on how to generate business from LinkedIn. Go have a look or inquire on our website and we'll send you the details. But effectively what you need to be doing is using the pain and the outcomes in content on LinkedIn. There's a lot of other stuff to it, but use pain and outcomes in content and talk about the pains and the outcomes, but don't necessarily push the solution, because you want people to go, I want that outcome. I have that pain. Can you help me? That's what you want. What you don't want people to go is, I have this pain, see you talk about it, then see you pivot to selling your remedy for the pain. They want the outcome or the pain. Talk about the outcome and the pain, and that will do the job for you. For most businesses. Any other questions? Oh, we had...
well, we had one, but we need some more information.
Our Summit said about, can I give an example for a donor emotional connection versus self-actualization? So emotional connection could be very emotive language. Like, for an example, you see with some of the climate change campaigners, they're using imagery of animals, seals and cute animals, and saying blood on your hands, very dramatic, emotive language and visuals to arrest people's attention, but also make them trigger a response of, oh, look how cute that animal is. Oh, are we doing this? Yeah. Or as I saw a turtle this morning with a plastic bag tangled around its head in an ocean. Very emotive. Yeah. And you go, oh, this is really bad. We must do something about it. And then they prompt me to take action because of my emotional response. That's the first way, the emotive response. The second, the self-actualization, is more about me making a difference in the world. So they're talking to my aspiration to make a difference, to leave something beyond, do something bigger than myself. Humans have this need to feel that they're making a difference beyond themselves, contributing to something bigger than themselves. And this kind of messaging about being bigger than themselves is about changing the world. It's the change the world message. How can you show people that if they support your cause, they are making a difference? So that's where you see messaging like, for just £2 a week, you can save this child, or you can feed this family, or you can educate.
Changes that.
Yeah.
That
So my gift transforms something. My support transforms something, whereas this one is about my emotion. I can support something that's touched me, that I can't just walk past on the other side of the road, like the Good Samaritan story. So one is triggers an emotion and then encourages me to support. The other one is triggers into my aspiration, my how can I do something bigger than myself, and that sense of legacy and making a difference and changing the world. And sometimes those messages are intertwined, but generally they start with one or the other. It starts emotively and then pivots into change the world, or it starts with change the world and has some emotion at the end. They're the key messages, and people respond differently in different ways. So for an example, somebody who's more affluent will be thinking more about changing the world and making a difference. And somebody who's not so affluent will be thinking about emotive and will be triggered by emotive things. Any more questions? We've run over a little bit tonight, but
Yeah.
Any questions? They're all very quiet tonight on this video. Maybe it's August. Everybody's just chilling, relaxing, not worried about things for a few weeks. They're just going to ride all this out.
Well, the good thing is we're going to come back.
Yeah, we'll be
in
back.
September.
One thing that I would say as well that's really important for you is everybody's been curious about how summer is going to work, because normally summer period you see a lot of businesses and people going on holiday. That has happened to some degree. People have gone on holiday, but people have been going, well, what do I do now in August? Because I don't want to waste time marketing in August if nobody's there around.
Well, there's something that we have to consider, which is, for the first time worldwide, every entrepreneur that used to go on holiday, forget about the business and just relax, is gone. Everyone goes on holiday, but everyone's thinking, when I go back, do I still have a business?
Yeah.
So everyone's thinking, how can I sort of charge my business? How can I find new types of revenue so that I can move forward?
RM's just asked for examples of B2B pain and gain. Okay, I'll do that in a second. So yeah, just bear in mind as well with marketing messaging, there is a process you have to go down. You will tire of your marketing message before your customers even start to get a hint of what it was. So often what happens is businesses give up on their marketing before their customers even know about it. So there's a couple of questions now. B2B pain and gain. So B2B pain, again, let's think of a business that wants IT. Let's go IT outsourcing. There could be a number of pain points for IT outsourcing. The first one is, for an example, if a business is frustrated that things are taking too long internally, perhaps they have a small IT team and don't have enough expertise. Perhaps some things are going wrong within the business. Perhaps it's costing them too much. There will be a number of different things, but then the gains could be the opposite of the pains. Yeah. When you have a headache, yeah, you get paracetamol to get rid of the headache. So what's the opposite of the pain is usually the gain. So if you've got lots of IT systems that don't work, the gain from outsourcing your IT to another company is everything works. You've got a service level agreement that the company makes sure it works. And if they don't, there's hell to pay. You can hold them to account financially if you want to. So think about what the pains are. The gains are the opposite. In other words, the pain is gone is the benefit. The frustration is gone. The aspiration is achieved.
Liz Morrison, what are the key differences in developing content for social enterprises?
Okay, so what are the key differences in developing? Generally speaking, Liz, there isn't a huge difference. The messages to people are the same. The difference is with social content, and this is a big issue with social platforms, is bear in mind the people you will be talking to may not be as passionate about your cause, about your business as you are. So whether you're a business, a social enterprise, or a charity, the people on the other side, the customers, the supporters, the community, will not be as passionate as you are. Now that can give you discouragement, it can leave you discouraged, but it shouldn't be, it's just the way things are. So what you need to do is build in some things that keeps people aware of you and engaged with you, even if it's not always about your message. Because otherwise what happens is people tire, and you see this kind of degenerative process on your content because people go, oh, it's that again, I'm bored. We're very easily distracted, and if you don't have something nice and shiny every so often to excite us, we lose interest. And it's really sad to say that, but that's how humans are. So what I would do is be doing things that engage people, not just about your cause, but are related to your cause. Perhaps there's interesting things you can share between your messages to just pique interest. Think about the pain points of your audience, the pain points of the people, and think about the community, and are there things that you can do as part of that that will keep your audience engaged?
David Fisher has a great question, but before we go to it, we've got Kirsty who asks, for the purpose of an informational interview, is it okay to direct message on LinkedIn?
Oh,
And that's going to take time. But David, don't go away, David Fisher, because we're going to answer your question after that one.
So think about it, Kirsty. Was it Kirsty or Kirsty?
Kirsty.
Kirsty. If you don't know the person, would they connect with it unless it was highly relevant to them? So again, if you follow the pain points and the P method, you'll be able to develop that message. But also understand that rapport is a big factor in people making a decision. The relationship and the trust and the confidentiality. Remember, you're handling fragile people, sensitivity, and all of those things need to be factored in. So would your message hinder that if it came out of the blue without any relevance, backstory, or without any other interactions? So I would be very careful about cold messaging people without building any interactions beforehand. And we talked about that in our LinkedIn program 3 or 4 weeks ago. So drop us a line, hi@maverick.com, and we'll get that link to you because that will really help you on that one.
So David Fisher. Who's a commercial
photographer.
And so it's about his website. It's quite relevant on what's happening nowadays.
So right now, David, I always believe the best route in business is to go after buyers, not shoppers, because the sales process is out of your control and you will be compared to other people. And in commercial photography, and I don't mean this in the way it sounds, David, but if you take me well-intentioned in the way I see it, I can go on, build a website and say I'm a commercial photographer with this phone. Yeah. And I can compete with you on the marketing front. I can't necessarily compete with you in expertise and I can't compete with you in quality, but on a marketing front, I can compete with you. And I would hate to be in a scenario whereby I'm offering something for, say, £600 and some person working from their home with a camera phone is offering something for £300. Now, a discerning client would probably evaluate in detail, but sometimes you lose just because you're up against somebody who's offering something a different level, different quality, and you struggle to get how different your things are across. And no disrespect, some people will go, a photo is a photo.
Yeah, but you see, when you look at the photo, imagine if you are I don't know what type of photography.
Commercial.
David, commercial.
So I've got an answer to this in a minute.
If it's for wedding, for example, the way I look at or I search for a photographer is completely different from when I'm looking for just a photographer to come and take a few photos of a meeting.
So if I then expand that out, what does that mean in the terms of buyers? Well, buyers are people who are maybe, from your point of view, David, they're not looking for new photography, but what they probably are frustrated with is that website isn't performing because they're using stock imagery. There's no buyers. The pictures on their website look old and dated. They want to build more trust with their customers. They want to be more high profile on social media, their employees. So I would think about what are the advantages and benefits of having better quality photography and start to talk about the pain points that they might be facing. Their website looks stock, their team photos look dated, things like that, and the impact they can have on business and revenue, so that you completely set yourself out of the whole, oh, we need new photos, let's look around and find people, because that's where probably there's a commodity market. Where are the spaces where you can go, actually, I can really add value to this business because with these photos, they're going to gain more trust. They're going to look more credible. They're going to look more expertise. They're more experts in their field. So I would think, for an example, David, and I'm sure you've got this, any business that's selling people's time for money is where they need to showcase who they are. So if they're selling time for money, so accountants, lawyers, barristers, architects, any coaches, consultants, anybody like that where they're selling their time for money, they need to demonstrate expertise, credibility, trust. And I would be thinking about how does your service, how does your expertise tick those boxes for people?
And also, for example, companies, they will offer a free downloadable, a book or something. What David, what would be the thing that David could offer?
So David's getting a free session here. Some of the things David could be doing is actually publishing and sharing with those kind of businesses a visual trust checklist for businesses' websites to say, look, visual imagery really does matter, and unique imagery, i.e. imagery of your team and your office and all of those things can help build trust, build credibility and expertise, expert status, and talking into those messages and getting those free downloadables to help people. And you don't want to give people the answers. You want to point them in the right direction of showing them that if they have, first of all, and I teach this about LinkedIn headshots. Sorry, David, I'm going on a bit. Not only do your LinkedIn headshots have to show that you are credible and knowledgeable and expert, they have to show you're relatable and human, because people buy from people. When you engage with a solicitor, you want to know you're going to be able to get on. You don't want it to be a difficult relationship. And if you've got, a picture that makes you look a bit difficult, people will be perturbed by that. That said, if you're an experienced and vicious litigator, you want that mean demeanor. So you see what I'm saying, David? These can be used in very different ways, and you can have different aspects for different businesses. But the buyers buy into the value of having the pictures, whereas the shoppers buy into the service of the pictures.
By the way, just a little tip. I recently came across a photographer that one of these services he's now offering is headshots for LinkedIn.
Yeah, corporate headshots for LinkedIn, particularly with the digital landscape now. Yeah. And again, why would a business have that? Why would a business want that kind of corporate headshot? Well, brand is massive, reputation is massive, and now they've got all of their sales team and all of their office, all their team on LinkedIn, because that's the way they're going to digitally sell. They need to look credible, they need to reflect the brand, and they need to look professional.
And shoulder-to-shoulder meetings have gone. Now it's face-to-face through online. Yeah. So that becomes very, very important and relevant. I think we've shot.
Yeah, we've shot over. So I'm going to wrap up now. So thank you for coming to this session. Please do go to the Oxlet Business Facebook page, go to the Oxlet Business LinkedIn page, and let them know they've put this session on to help you in business and help you take as much advantages from this current situation as you can. Please do go let them know if you've got value from the session. Go follow their pages, put them a comment on there thanking them for it. And, you know, you're welcome to come find me on LinkedIn, Dean Seddon on LinkedIn. I'll happily connect with you. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. We will be back in September with a whole new bank of training. If you need anything more, do check out Oxlep's website. There's other free training on there. There's all sorts of stuff there to help you get through COVID and come out the other side and recover from what's been horrendous. But I will see you in September, and do check us out on maverick.com as well. But thank you everybody for watching, and see you in September.